It was a real eye-opener, and it was, I think back in the days it was sink or swim attitude. It was a bit tougher, which looking back now I'm very grateful for it. It was a fantastic base for me to go on and establish my career from.
Chud Stephen Naismith en am die cún at professionte called die Kilmarnock and the David Saga is Jay Keen to system out the club.
Going in, you're a kid. I was straight from school, and your first day you really don't know what to expect because everything's been sheltered beforehand from the youth teams through, and you come into the changing room and there was some big characters at the time, and at Kilmarnock everybody was together, the first team and the reserves down to the 18s, and you're basically head down and hopefully you feel invisible compared to every day and hope nobody picks up on you. Maybe the first 6 months I wouldn't really engage much with the first team boys, but I was observing everything they'd done and how it worked and what was expected, and after that you do form relationships with some of them from being their boot boy. I always think it was a great thing. There was a bit of responsibility for you, but you actually have a relationship with that first team player, which later on when you start training with the first team and stuff, it makes that transition easier. I learned so much from that attitude of fear of doing wrong. I thrived in that, and yeah, you make a mistake, but you need to just accept it and move on and make sure it doesn't happen again. And I think for me that's something that I learned very quickly, and I worked that if I did make a mistake I was hard on myself, which I think helped me get into that first team as quick as possible.
Waar een drie game gaal kama volosjaka is Jega Kronon glitter en Echking if finish jack and if the skippen.
When I first went in, I remember looking at the younger guys who'd just get in the Stevie Murray, for example, was a guy who'd just get in the first team. Boydie had done it before, and at that time that's all I can honestly say, that's all I thought. I want to be him. I want to be that young hot prospect, and I wouldn't stop. I just keep playing and practicing as much as I could to get to that point. And then when I got to that point, I was thinking, looking at Boydie was the main man. He scores all the time, and I used to clean Boydie's boots, and I used to remember on a Friday cleaning his boots and thinking, he can go away. He knows he's playing every week. He knows he's the first name on that team sheet. And I was like, imagine what it would be like to be in that position. And then you get to that, and then that's the way my career's been. Every time I've always thought of, looked at something, found the goal and tried to get to that goal, to be honest.
Jemig Stephen added Jim Jeffries agus Billy Brown glachig, cos finish jack and if the skipper at Rugby Park.
He was tough and he was fearful, him and Billy. But then when you go away and you look back at it, the one thing Jim and Billy were honest, and as much as some training sessions you'd just be running and it was a bit old school that way, they looked after the players when it came to international breaks or weekends that you maybe were out the cup. They were fair on the players. They were hard and tough and they demanded a lot from you, but they were fair. And again, I was a kid, just that was the norm. And when I was playing in the 18s and doing well, and then you'd play the reserve game or the 21s game on the Tuesday night, and I started doing well in them, and before long he just said after a game, he's like, well, if you continue playing like that, you win the first team quick enough. And true to his word, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks later I was involved in the squad.
En glwyd Geneviach gyfel Kilmarnock cholages had the V, is net ich blion vagaka heen in club.
When I was at the club, it was the norm to be top 6, and we probably overachieved for what resources the club had, but 5th or 6th was regular an aim for us, and over the years it slowly kind of went down, and they fluttered with the relegation. And for me, Kilmarnock is a great club. It's a club that gives opportunities to youngsters, and especially now there's a lot of good people at the club that want to make get everybody involved for the community and from being around that area, and it's great to see. Billy Bowie's doing a fantastic job, and to get a manager of Steve Clark's calibre, it just shows what work's going on. So it's fantastic to see that them doing well from a side point of view that I do still follow the club.
As jy Gresham Rangers, Everton agus Norwich City, hield Stephen Galapis yn nwyliach agus ed Easatic Heart is yn nghorgan y desan.
The things at Norwich hadn't gone well in terms of the change the way the club was going, and they wanted to offload a lot of the more experienced boys that they wanted to build for the future. I was open to a lot of offers, but I hadn't really thought too much about Scotland. And then I spoke to the manager, and they thought they could put some sort of package that would entertain Norwich. And from that first phone call till it actually happened, the club showed how much they wanted it to happen, and showed me everything the club has to offer, and that eagerness to get something done and want me to be involved with the club, not just so much as the performances on the pitch, but what I could bring off it was something that appealed to me, and I'm definitely glad that I made the right choice. Again, a bit like Kilmarnock, they had circumstances that nobody really wanted, but from the day I came up to have a look around and meet the manager, and what he showed me what's going on at the club, obviously the new stand, and the leadership from the boss and Anne Burge is fantastic. You see what it means to them. It's more than just a company and we'll just run this company. It's so much more than that, and they need to take a lot of plaudits for what they've done. The manager, first of all, what he's done to the squad, and in terms of getting players to the club, which maybe the Hearts fans might not have seen maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, to the infrastructure of the club, to the youth players coming through, to everything that's going on. It's an exciting time at the club.
Van Karsten zit heen agus Sean manager na Halappe Craig Levine na haring mór ga close at Carrow Road to Tynecastle.
I think that's always something as a player you need to be comfortable with, of what the manager expects, how he works, and with me having worked with him before, I knew exactly what he wanted, how honest he was, and that, for me, that's a big thing in terms of I can take criticism or I can take whatever, but I just want somebody to be honest rather than say something but act a different way. And no, that was it. And then since I've been at the club, Foxy, Big John and Austin have been fantastic as well. They do a lot of the day-to-day stuff, and it's a great setup. It is a dressing room which is very welcoming. You have got that kind of base of older pros which lead or set an example, if you like, for the abundance of young talent that's at the club. And again, that's one of the first things I noticed, that these guys are just desperate to learn. And so many times I've been in situations with a few of them, and I've thought, I remember when I was that age, and they're acting the right way, rather than just thinking, I'm in full time, I've made it, and it's nice to see. I think first of all, you look at the cup, we're still in the cup, and as you get to the later rounds, it's definitely up for grabs for any team that's still involved. Fortunately, I've managed to win it once, and that would be nice to finish the season with something like that. But also in the league, I think we need to push as much as we can. I think the expectation and demands are high at a club like Hearts, but on the flip side of that, you do need to remember where the club were only a couple of years ago, and so the progression from there is great, and the club is going in the right way. But in most of the league games you go into, you've got to fancy yourself as being the dominant team and winning their games, and that'll be no different from now to the end of the season.
As Stephen Kudjak Gamor and Dogus Chilico squad na Halappe, because Kudish and Daihet to Koi Ke, the Hoshnia Karikasho.
Now with a new manager, it's then open up. That's who Alex McLeish was the one that gave me my debut for Scotland, which obviously was fantastic for me. Another manager I worked really well with, but he's got a load of players to pick from, and he's fortunate. I think it's for any manager getting the job, it's a great job. It's one that we're not far away from making a tournament, and he might have the right ingredients. I think his record in his previous time at Scotland was great, and if he can come back to that, then it'll be great. For me as a player, I just need to work hard, and if you're doing well, then you're in with a chance of getting picked, and that's as simple as it is. I'm not naive enough to think that I'll make the next squad, or it'll be easy. It's never easy. Making the squad, you need to prove your worth, really, and that's what I'll do. I think every older professional that I've been close to has told me that you should play as long as you can, because inevitably that day does come that you can't do it anymore, and that's quite unique in a lot of ways. When you think of people's jobs, their career goes on to their 60s and 70s, and for a footballer it's much shorter than that, and that's quite tough to handle. So I've definitely got the drive. I think as you get older, the things that matter most are change. It's not mainly driven by finances as when you're younger, but it's more about the opportunities, what you can give back to what type of team it's going to be and how you fit into that, and you've got to weigh all these things up. So it's tricky at the moment with me still come the summer having a year left at Norwich, and they'll have a big part to play in what happens with me, but so far I've enjoyed every minute at Hearts, and going forward I'll look at all the options.